Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra, because we are on a Friday. As you can see, we're on a very sweaty Friday here. It is quite humid tonight. Although we do have the fire on in the background, that is purely for effect. We just got the lights on. We haven't got the actual heating element on. So, what are we reading tonight? Well, we are still reading Ghost Stations 5, but we might also dip into a Ghostly Almanac of Devon and Cornwall, which we do every month. So, yeah, I think we might do that tonight. Just going to clean the cover of the book, because I think Derpy has been walking around on top of it with his dirty little derpy feet. So, right, so yes, Ghostly Almanac of Devon and Cornwall, then Ghost Stations 5. What are we drinking? Well, we've got a subscription beer tonight, which is Perro del Mar Light IPA, 3.8%. I'm just trying to see what it says. It says, and it's in Spanish, En cada gota hay pasión, dedicación y el gusto de compartmente lo que más disfrutamos, Hesa, Cheve de la Biana, whatever that means. Oh, it's Mexican. I do beg your pardon. Yeah, there we go. That's what it is. So we'll give it a go. Oh, actually, I've just realised we haven't got the visual effects on. Let's go to visual effects. And let's go to blur, and as soon as I touch blur, it will go massively out of kilter. Here we go, blur. That's better. That's nice. What other filters shall we have? Shall we have vintage on tonight? How's that look? I quite like that. Yeah, let's try cinematic. Oh, I don't know, vintage or cinematic. We'll go for vintage. We'll go for cinematic at the moment. So let's try this Mexican beer. I was had lunch today, treated to lunch today by my friend Julia, who only a few weeks ago, her and her husband Simon came back from a trip to Mexico. So, and that's where I got my Frida Kahlo tissues. So, excellent stuff. Right. Shall we? Oh, and what are we washing it down with? Well, what are we washing it down with? We've still got a little bit of the Western Gold honey left, but not much. And in fact, I can tell you how not much we've got. We've probably got two shots of it left in there. So we'll come to the next bit when we. I'll tell you what else we've got to drink tonight when we get round to drinking it. Right. This is a Ghostly Almanac of Devon and Cornwall. June. Barnfield House, Exeter, Devon. Henrietta Marie was born in Paris in November of 1609, the youngest daughter of King Henri IV of France. At the age of 15, she married Charles, Prince of Wales, their marriage requiring a special dispensation from the Pope, since she was a Catholic and he was a Protestant. And he was a man and she was a child, but don't skirt over that. Grim, but never mind. The difference in their religions alarmed the English Parliament, and when Charles was crowned King Charles I in February 1626, Henrietta Marie was not allowed to be crowned beside him. At first, the marriage seemed to be more a union of convenience than a love match, but gradually the couple became devoted to each other. In 1642, with a civil war looming in England, Henrietta Marie fled to the Netherlands. However, she returned to England and the king in February 1643 and was soon pregnant with her 9th child. She went to the relative safety of Bath for her confinement, but was forced to move even further west to Exeter as the Parliamentarian army, led by the Earl of Wessex, advanced into the southwest. On the 16th of June, 1644, the Queen gave birth to a daughter, Henrietta Anne, at Barnfield House in Exeter. On the 14th of July, 1644, the Queen left Falmouth for France. Her beloved husband, Charles, was executed in January 1649, and from that moment onwards, Henrietta Marie went into mourning. Her ghost, dressed in black, is said to walk the gardens of Barnfield House to this day. That definitely deserves a thunderclap. So, if I can find where the thunderclap is. It deserves a swig of this beer. So, cheers, me beers, in the magnificent Rush beer glass. Again, courtesy of viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States. Slange me bar. Perro Del Mar Light IPA. Hasn't really got any character to it. Just it could be kind of like Tesco's value beer, quite frankly. Which I've got to say, I might, the next time I'm in Tesco's, I might actually get some just for a laugh. Anyway, what do you know? We're only 8 minutes into the show, and already we have a dead soldier. And run, BT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
So we will have a swig of the old. The Western Gold Honey. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, goodness me, this next one's a bit of a monster. Castle Andinus, Cornwall. Castle Andinus is one of the largest ancient hill forts in the county of Cornwall. Excavations of the area have indicated that it was used mainly during the Iron Age, although some evidence has been found of a Neolithic causeway, suggesting an even earlier origin. It has long been associated with legends of King Arthur, and it is said to be the place where Cador, Duke of Cornwall, and King Arthur's mother, Igraine, were killed. In the 20th century, it became the site of a wolfram mine. Given its ancient history, it is perhaps not surprising that the area is said to be haunted. One legend linked to the site is that of Wild Harris, who lived at nearby Carnegie Manor. Harris was enamoured with a young woman, a distant relation, who had fallen on hard times and had thus moved into the manor house. Entirely independent on the charity of her relatives, the young woman was like a fish out of water at the manor, being considered too low to associate with the family and yet too high for the servants. She was particularly despised by the old housekeeper, a spiteful, malicious woman, and probably a Reform MP, who considered too low. Oh, I've got where I am now. She was particularly despised by the old housekeeper, a spiteful, malicious woman who ruled the house with a rod of iron. The housekeeper saw the girl as a threat, fearing that she might marry Wild Harris, the son of the household. The housekeeper spied on the clandestine meetings between the two young lovers and reported back to Harris's father, who would have much preferred his son to marry someone more in keeping with his status as future lord of the manor rather than an impoverished orphan. The squire threatened that if his son married their poor relation, he would marry his housekeeper to prevent his son from inheriting the Carnegie estate. So great was the opposition to the marriage of the young lovers that the orphan girl fell into a state of depression and sadness, and eventually left the house one night under the cover of darkness. Her body was found the following morning, drowned in the nearby mill pond. With his sweetheart gone, Harris devoted himself to his other great love, hunting. In due course, the old squire died, finally giving his son the satisfaction of turning the spiteful old housekeeper out of the house. However, so bitter was the old lady at her treatment that she fretted herself to death and soon returned to haunt her old domain, making such a noise about the house that its inhabitants had no peace. Night after night, she would shriek and scream, rattle plates, or beat the furniture, keeping the occupants of the house awake until her footsteps were heard going up the stairs and along the gallery to her master's bedroom, when the nightly din finally ceased. Her shadowy figure, dressed in a long gown, was often seen passing through the courtyard outside the house, and she was not above aiming a vicious slap or a kick at young servant girls. It is said that her restless and noisy spirit was eventually confined to a small room in the manor house containing a fleece from a black sheep. She was set the impossible task of carding the fleece over and over again until it became white, then spinning it into stockings. The entrance to her room was boarded up with only a tiny hole left in an outside wall. Legend has it that if the hole was ever blocked, it was reopened almost immediately by unearthly means. Wild Harris spent his hunting days and his nights reveling with friends. Yet he too came to an untimely end while still in the prime of his life. Whilst out hunting at Castle Andinas one day, he was thrown from his horse and killed. The animal was said to have been startled by a white hare, which was believed to have been the spirit of the woman he had loved and lost. I think we will have another quick swig of the old beer. I haven't finished this story yet, so sludge. Oh, lovely. It was customary at the time to hold funerals at midnight, and Wild Harris's body was taken to Gulval Church and buried in the churchyard there. When the mourners returned to Carnegie for the wake, they were greeted by the ghost of Wild Harris standing by the summer house in the garden. He was dressed in his hunting clothes, and his faithful hound was at his feet. The dog had been so attached to Harris that it had simply lay down and died when his master drew his last breath. For many years, local people were reluctant to pass the old manor house in the dark for fear of hearing the sounds of Wild Harris carousing with his friends. Eventually, the Reverend Mr. Polkinghorne of St. Ives, a renowned exorcist of the time, was called in to rid the manor of evil spirits. He succeeded in banishing Wild Harris's ghost to the summit of Castle Andinas, where it was given the task of counting the blades of grass 9 times. While the account of Wild Harris is a Cornish legend, the facts behind the tragic murder of 18-year-old Jesse Rickard at Castle Andinas in June 1904 are more easily verifiable. Jesse was the sweetheart of a local carpenter, 20-year-old Charles Berryman, who was almost obsessive in his love for her. The couple went for a cycle ride to Castle Andinas, where, having heard that Jesse was interested in another man, Berryman fired 6 shots at the young woman, 5 hitting her in the face and neck, and the 6th entering her elbow. Jesse died instantly, and Berryman later turned the gun on himself, dying from a bullet wound to his head. A photograph of Jesse was found in his pocket, along with a letter to his mother giving instructions on the disposal of his effects. The reports of ghosts at Castle Andinas are many and varied. There have been sightings of ghostly armies, and people have reported hearing the sounds of phantom battles. Gunshots have also been heard, and many people have found themselves suffering from dizziness or unexplained trembling at the summit, some reporting intense pains in the head. Ba, ba, ba. Slange. That's a fairly tasteless craft beer. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. Slange. St. Nectan's Glen, Cornwall and Hartland, Devon. There are numerous legends surrounding St. Nectan, believed to be the oldest son of the Welsh king Brychan. Born around AD 468, Nectan left Wales and sailed to the West Country, landing at Hartland on the North Devon coast, where he built a church and a hermitage. Today, several churches in the area bear his name, and the supposed date of his death, 7th of June, is commemorated by services. Around AD 500, because we're AD rather than BC, so time kind of goes backwards, if you know what I mean. Around AD 500, Nectan is believed to have moved from Devon to Cornwall, establishing a retreat at St. Nectan's Glen, or Ceve, near Tintagel, Ceve being the Cornish word for basin. There are several differing accounts of his death, the most frequently quoted being that he was given a cow by a local farmer after he had helped him by rounding up the farmer's pigs. Robbers determined to steal the cow, and in the resulting skirmish, Nectan was beheaded. He allegedly surprised his killers by picking up his severed head and walking back to his retreat with it. Nectan is said to have had a silver bell, which he rang to warn the villagers at Tintagel when ships were in danger off the treacherous Cornish coasts. Shortly before his death, he supposedly threw the bell into the water at the Ceve, vowing that it would never again ring for unbelievers. It is rumored that the sound of the bell is still heard on stormy nights. After Nectan's death, two women, thought to have been his sisters, claimed his body, burying it in an oak coffin beneath the stream that runs through St. Nectan's Glen. The two women continued to live in the hermitage until they too died and were buried by villagers under a large flat stone. The area is reputed to be haunted by St. Nectan and two women whose ghostly forms have often been seen walking through St. Nectan's Glen, as have the hooded figures of monks. Any of them called Harry? Let's find out. Again. As have the hooded figures of monks. People also speak of hearing the strange sounds of sobbing, laughter, monastic chanting, and even organ music echoing through the valley on the approach to the Ceve. At St. Nectan's Church at Stoke, near Hartland, witnesses have seen the figure of a monk, both in the church and in the churchyard. These witnesses include the vicar, who saw the monk on two occasions during the 1970s. Is he called Harry? We will get a monk called Harry at some stage. The area near Hartland Abbey is also said to be haunted by a procession of monks dressed in long brown or black habits, while two headless ladies have been spotted at nearby Bow Bridge. Many of those who have seen the women state that they have been unable to hear the rustling. Many of those who have seen the women state that they have been able to hear the rustling of their silk dresses. Oh, that's the end of that one. Oh, coming up towards the end of the chapter. That's a very short June. What are we up to? 21 minutes. Yeah, fine. Tasteless beer. I do apologise, brewery, but we'll come to a really tasty beer for part deux tonight. So, Slange. Slange again. Ah, right. This could be another Dead Soldier moment. I think it is. Yeah, it's going to be another Dead Soldier moment. Oh, perfect. Well, what do you know? Dead Soldier and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, Dead Soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Oh, I love that film. Right. I've got the beer burps coming up. Hang about. Oh, there we go. Beer burps at 22 minutes and 26 seconds. Oh. Right, last one for this chapter tonight. So, Sennen, Cornwall. Throughout the 19th century, much of the Cornish coastline was a perilous place for shipping due to the prevalence of smugglers who would risk life and limb to dishonestly obtain the ship's precious cargoes of tobacco, spirits, silk, tea, and other highly prized commodities. On the 5th of June, 1805, 35-year-old John George of Sennen paid the ultimate price for his smuggling activities, being hanged at Newgate Prison, having been found guilty of the crime of inciting a riot. George had been tried at the Old Bailey on the 24th of April, 1805, charged that he and others, being armed with firearms, guns, pistols, pikes, swords, and large stones, unlawfully did assemble themselves together, aiding, abetting, assisting, rescuing, and taking away from William Parry, an officer of our Lord the King, 1,000 gallons of brandy, rum, and Geneva, and 500 pounds weight of tobacco, being respectively uncustomed goods after the seizure of said goods. The principal witness for the prosecution was John George's sister-in-law, Anne, the wife of his brother Joseph. According to evidence given at the trial by William Parry, he had been forewarned by Anne and Joseph George that the smugglers intended to attack him and to reclaim the contraband that he had just seized. Soon there was a pitched battle being fought between around 30 villagers and the revenue men, during which several of Parry's men were seriously injured in a prolonged barrage of musket fire and stone throwing. According to Parry, Anne and Joseph George tried several times to negotiate with the smugglers on his behalf, and, had it not been for their efforts, the seized goods would surely have been lost. John George was infuriated by his brother's actions and vowed that since Joseph was gone like a rogue to inform the officers, he would shoot him as soon as he would shoot a blackbird. Let's try not to shoot blackbirds, folks. Come on then. Anne's apparent treachery against her brother-in-law was not the first time that she had crossed the smugglers of the village. It was said that she and Joseph were landlords of the first and last inn at Sennen, and that they occupied the premises rent-free due to their intimate knowledge of the activities. I've lost where I am there. Sorry, I just completely lost where I am there. It was said that she and Joseph were landlords of the first and last inn at Sennen, and that they occupied the premises rent-free due to their intimate knowledge of the activities of the inn's owner, Dionysius Williams. When Williams tried to evict them, Anne turned king's evidence against him, resulting in his imprisonment. She had also supposedly given evidence at the trials of other village smugglers. Legend has it that the villagers of Sennen swore revenge on Anne George for standing witness against her brother-in-law, and that when she returned to the village, She was horribly murdered by being staked on the beach at low tide and covered with fishing nets. As the tide rose, she was drowned. Once the tide had receded again, Anne George's body was taken back to the first and last inn, where it was laid out in one of the first floor bedrooms before being buried in an unmarked grave in the cemetery next door to the pub. Even though long dead, it seems as though Anne still wishes to lay claim to the bedroom at the inn that once was hers. People sleeping there are said to have suffered from terrible nightmares in which they dreamed they were drowning or experienced the sensation of being pinned to the bed, unable to move. Often people say that they found it difficult to breathe. Doors slam unexpectedly, and previously locked windows are inexplicably found wide open. Parts of the pub suddenly go very cold, and people walking on the upstairs landing have reported feeling as if they are being watched or followed. And several people have said that they felt that they had been touched by an unseen hand. The figure of an old woman dressed in black has been seen standing at the side of the bed in Anne's bedroom, and the pub cats have been found shut inside. So, read that again. The figure of an old woman dressed in black has been seen standing at the side of the bed in Anne's bedroom, and the pub cats have been found shut inside closed cupboards and drawers. Oh, that's a bit grim. Oh, we don't like that. Good job Derpy's not up here. Are we at half time yet? No, we're not. So we'll do a quick one from Ghost Stories 5, and then we'll bore you with half time. So oops, slash. Oh, it would have to be this one. Racial slur, the mystery lives on. Throughout the Ghost Station series, we have reference to Racial Slur, Wing Commander Guy Gibson's black Labrador dog, and the mascot of number 617 Dambusters Squadron. Indeed, Mrs. Jan Thorpe mentions Racial Slur in the Ghost Squadrons at RAF Scampton. But Racial Slur's death is a mystery, and is that the reason why so many people see the dog? It could well be, for the more I thought about it, the stranger it became. It does not ring true, and I, as former Royal Air Force Provost Special Security, cannot accept the stories put forward. We have all seen the film, we have all seen the Dambusters film, where Racial Slur is seen running around the station buildings of Royal Air Force Scampton looking for his master, Wing Commander Guy Gibson, and irks turning the dog away, saying, "No, he's not in here." Racial Slur is then seen running from the guard room through the open main gates and onto the main A15 Lincoln Road, where a car runs him down. That is not possible. To be able to run through the open main, that is not possible. To be able to run through the open main gates. Let me explain, for we are now talking about security, my field. During the final days of preparation for Operation Chastise, the code name for the highly secret operation for which number 617 Squadron had been specially formed, Royal Air Force Scampton was on maximum security. The station was sealed. The main gates were locked. Repeat, locked. No one was allowed in or out. No telephone calls could be made. No telegrams could be sent. All leave cancelled. Armed sentries patrolled by the guard room. This was, of course, usual practice in wartime, but this was very special, and extra patrols would seal the camp. And as all dog owners know, a dog has a sixth sense, and racial slur was no exception to the rule. He was an intelligent dog. Gibson was in the final briefing that night, and racial slur would have known exactly where he was. The dog would have sensed that something was on and been very close to his master. So now we must ask, why was racial slur left outside? Was he not with his Batman? How did racial slur get through the main gate? And most important, why should racial slur have wanted to cross the road? There is only a field, even to this day. It was said that the car that ran racial slur down did not even stop. If the gates were sealed, and they were, how did they recover racial slur? It is all so very strange, and I do not believe one word of the original story of how racial slur is shown to have been killed in the film Dam Busters. No one has mentioned it before, so think about it. There is a cover-up as to how racial slur died. So what did happen to racial slur? According to John Sweetman's book, The Dam Busters Raid, the driver and passenger of the car were injured in a vain attempt to avoid racial slur. Yet we are told they did not stop. The more you think about it, the stranger it gets. And I'm certain that you will now ask yourself the same question that I have asked. How did racial slur really die? Now, bit of boring housekeeping here is that in the film The Dam Busters, what was that, 1953? I'm sure it is. Just checks notes. I'm sure it's 1953. Dam Busters film. Oh, 55. I'm out by 2 years. But during the sequence where they're ushering racial slur out of the base, one of the airmen, uncredited in the film, is an Irish actor called, I've forgotten his name now, Patrick McGoohan. Patrick McGoohan, of course, who later went on to become Danger Man and number 6 in The Prisoner. Slange. Oh, lovely. Cheers, me beers. Oh, lovely. Right. So what are we dipping into tonight? I think we'll dip into the wasabi mix. We're a bit hungry at the moment. Although I will tell you about my adventures today. I did have adventures. But we'll have some wasabi mix to kick off with. Right, part 2 of tonight's beer is the St. Peter's Abbey St. Pierre, Belgian Abbey beer, blonde beer, 6%. And this is from Home Bargains, where incidentally I bumped into my very good friend Jackie tonight. That was very pleasant. Do like Jackie, she's a good laugh. And I am very grateful to her because, goodness me, how long ago was this? 7 years ago? 7 years ago. I had this phobia about driving across the Severn Bridge, either one, but the new one or the old one. And she said to me, no, you got to get over that. So we had a trip over the Severn Bridge to visit Well, actually, we had a trip over the Severn Bridge, and as we were going down the M4 in Wales, the first junction you could get off was signposted for RSPB Newport Wetlands. So we decided to go there. And that was the start of my love affair with Newport Wetlands, which I didn't go to last year. So I'm going to have to try and clear some time to go there. We're just going to have some more mega mix as well. So the St. Pierre beer, 6%. And what are we rushing it down with? What are we washing it down with? I thought we'd give this a try tonight. It's the Balmuir. It's a blended Scotch whiskey from Lidl. It's only 12 quid. Oak aged for 3 years. 40%? Yeah, 40%. It says Balmuir blended Scotch whiskey, distilled, blended and bottled in Scotland. This blended Scotch whiskey has been expertly crafted using traditional methods and only for the finest ingredients. Mellowed in oak casks, this whiskey is smooth with a rich sweetness and depth of flavour, leaving a warm, lingering finish. Well, we'll give it a go. Goodness me, it's going to be a three bumper tonight. I should sleep relatively good tonight because I woke up this morning at 4:45 a.m. I couldn't sleep. It was too muggy. It was already getting light outside. I thought, no, let's go downstairs and get on with some work. So washed, dressed, downstairs, kettle on, and I was in the studio working at 5 o'clock in the morning. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping a combination of, we haven't even got to the story yet. I'm hoping a combination of a trip out today, ghost stories, and frankly, a long day being awake, that when we do get to bedtime, I should be out like a light. Right. Here is Adventures. He goes to sorry, I'm just getting distracted by something there. Right. So here we go. Lost where I am now. Right, here we go. So I had a lovely trip into Bristol today to see my good friend Julia. Actually, she's an old girlfriend, actually. She won't mind me saying that because we went out, checks notes, about 12 years ago. I utterly messed up that relationship. I hold my hands up and say, yeah, I did. Hadn't spoken to her for a very long time. And after my holiday at Southmead, she, bless her, she got in contact with me and said, anything I can do for you, which was very, very kind of her. So, and she's now one of my best friends. So there we go. You can mend things after you, frankly, buggered them up. And she's married to a lovely chap called Simon. I like him very much. He's very chilled and laid back. So I do like Simon. Anyway, so I went into that there Bristol today, where Julia treated me to a lunch, which was very kind of her. So here we go. This was my feta cheese salad. Very nice, very delicious. And this was on the Gloucester Road. And then after that, we went back and we went into the church of, I forgot what it is now. The church of, is it St. Michael's and St. Andrews? I'm going to have to look it up, folks. It is the Church of St. Matthew's and St. Nathaniel's, literally round the corner from her. I'm going to have to look it up, folks. There we go. And but it's a brilliant church because so much of it has been given over to wildlife. I'm being somebody who's involved in a wildlife community interest company. This is what you should do. So there we go. They've got a thing there. It says the bugs and flowers will be even wilder if you tread on them. Please use the mown path. But this is brilliant. So there's like a bug hotel there. That's one of the path. That's to the side of the path. Oh, it's just brilliant. This is perfect. This is exactly what I like to see. And that's the church there. Very nice. And again, a bug hotel. And I've got to try and remember what that was now. I did well, this is the thing. I did say to Julia that I have got to come back and catalogue as much as I can in that churchyard. Not that I'm OCD or anything. All the beer burps again, but I am OCD. That apparently is yarrow. What else have we got? And then we've got that, which was I think that's yellow loosestrife. He's just checking the dotted loosestrife. Yeah, dotted loosestrife. Then we've got that one, which is, goodness me, you'd think I'd set all this up before we went live, but that is apparently beard tongue, unknown. So that's good. And that was lunch. That was my feta cheese salad. So thank you, Julia. I do appreciate your patience and your generosity, and also the fact that I frequently do kind of like drift off a little bit, and the kind of collateral damage, quite frankly. But yes, did appreciate that, and I did appreciate Simon's patience as well. So thank you for lunch. That was very generous of you. And the next time we are anywhere, lunch is on me. Of course it is. So yeah, brilliant stuff. So thank you, Julia. I do appreciate that. Anything else I can think of? Just having a quick look at my boring Facebook timeline here. No, okay, this was this morning. I was up, well, this is the thing. I was up at, as I mentioned, I was up at 4:45 this morning. Couldn't sleep because it was too sticky, so I was outside in the garden, and then I was photographing everything that's going on in my garden. So that's quite exciting. That is, I forgot what that damn well is now. Bear with, folks. Iron Cross. Yes, of course it is. That's Iron Cross. That's one of my roses, which I've got some potted roses. They are absolute beauties. They really are absolutely brilliant. And then we have that, which is the hydrangea that my friend Jane bought me checks notes about 10 years ago. That's in a pot as well. Was hoping to see Jane today because I was passing her place coming back from Julia's, but she wasn't available, so never mind. So yeah, so there we go. Just having a think. Anything else to bore you senseless with? No, that's it. That's pretty much it. I mean, okay, this is, I do overnight oats and I sit out on the patio and have my overnight oats with some of the fresh fruit from my fruit trees and bushes and some mint. So that's very nice. Very cosmopolitan that, but no, that's it. Right. What are we up to? 44 minutes. Right. I think we should crack on mit the ghost stories. And I suddenly realized that on Wednesday's show, I forgot to do a dead soldier. So never mind. Right, let's crack on, shall we? Like I say, Derpy is outside. He's asleep on the patio. So, the truth about Lancaster R5894 in Devil's Hill Field. The county of Lincolnshire became the last resting place for many aircraft and crew during the Second World War. Flying accidents were a daily occurrence, and with the mushrooming of heavy bomber airfields that sprouted almost overnight in order to meet the demand of Bomber Command, there was a serious problem with overlapping of circuits. And many crashes were caused by tired crews returning from bombing raids only to find their airfield covered in fog. Battle weary and battle scarred, they plunged to earth. One such doomed bomber was Avro Lancaster R5894. It was trying to land at Royal Air Force Scampton in Lincolnshire on Tuesday, the 2nd of March, 1944. But their luck ran out. It was a bad crash, and the truth has never been told until now. The official report stated one survivor, but that is not true. There were no survivors. Or another report said that all crew were killed on impact. That is not true, as I will prove in a minute. In Sid Finn's Lincolnshire crash book, he states that Lancaster R5894 crashed behind Riseholme Hall. But that is not true. It crashed in Devil's Hill Field, which is today haunted by a ghost flyer. And as the story unfolds, you will understand why it is haunted. I think we definitely need a swig of the old Saint Pierre now. So, Sludge. Oh, see, that's a tasty beer. We do like that. Oh, for the third time tonight, goodness me, this is almost a record. For the third time tonight, another dead soldier and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
We'll try a bit of this Balmuir blended Scotch whiskey. So, smells quite nice. That's very nice. Very, very tasty. The heavy four-engined Avro Lancaster bomber was on final countdown for landing at Royal Air Force Scampton when it hit high-tension cables and crashed in Devil's Hill Field, some 300 yards from the old Roman Ermine Street. The bomber burst into flames, and with the crash only a short distance from RAF Scampton, the crash rescue teams were quickly on the scene. But not before the local farmer, Mr. Pepper, in whose field the bomber crashed. He was on the scene almost straight away, but there was nothing he could do, for the aircraft was already burning fiercely. But he tried, for the rear gunner has survived the crash, but was trapped inside his turret. The only way to get out of the rear turret was to turn the turret to beam and fall out, or through the doors and into the fuselage, but both were impossible. The hydraulics out of action, the fuselage a smashed and burning inferno. The rear turret part lodged into the ground, and on top of that, the rear gunner appeared badly injured. His cries for help fell on helpless ears. In vain, Farmer Pepper tried to smash at the rear turret, but in a desperate attempt to flee the In vain, Farmer Pepper tried to smash at the rear turret in a desperate attempt to flee the badly injured rear gunner, but all was in vain. Then the crash rescue team and medical officer arrived from RAF Scampton. By now, the bomber was burning fiercely in all sections. The screams continued from the rear turret, and, with great danger to himself, the medical officer grabbed an axe from the crash tender and tried in vain to free the trapped rear gunner. Frantically, the medical officer hacked at the rear turret, oblivious to the dangers. Again and again, the axe fell as the precious seconds ticked away. Then, for a split second, the medical officer froze. Next second, the sharp axe. Then, for a split second, the medical officer froze. Next second, the sharp axe plunged into the rear gunner's head through the smashed turret. Seeing that all was in vain, the medical officer killed the rear gunner with the axe, the act being witnessed by Farmer Pepper. And as a former First World War officer, he knew, and as a former First World War officer, he knew that this was the only choice left open to the medical officer. Thus, because of that action taken by the medical officer, the reports were made out that all the crew were killed on impact and that there were no survivors. But there was one survivor, but he could not be saved and was killed with an axe by the medical officer rather than be left to be burnt alive. For within seconds of that killing deed, the rear turret was engulfed in flames and a section exploded. Today, the high tension cables that the Lancaster bomber hit have been rerouted. When they were brought down, the power supply to Lincoln was cut. The pylon hit was a low pylon in a high spot. On the Ordnance Survey map, this section is marked as tumulus and marks the spot where Lancaster R5894 crashed that fateful Tuesday in March 1944. And today it also marks the spot where the Ghost Flyer haunts in Devil's Hill Field, and a spine-chilling scream is heard on the wind. And here we have a photograph of John Jock Pepper, who served in the Second World War, should be caps there, Bruce, in the Middle East and Italy with the Indian Army, the son of Percy Pepper, who told his son about the Lancaster that crashed in Devil's Hill Field, and how he saw the rear gunner killed with the axe. Come on, Bruce. Is it Devils? No, it is apostrophe S. Sorry, I was being a bit harsh there. Right, no, that's that for that one. What are we up to? 55 minutes, right. See if we can find some short ones to dig through. Bear with, folks. I'm just having a hunt through. Yeah, I think we've got a couple of short ones and then that'll be it. We'll bid you adieu for tonight. What are we up to? 56 minutes. So, Slangs me var. In the magnificent United Federation of Planet Shot Glass, again courtesy of viewers Stephen Kirsten in the United States, Slangs me var. All that Balmuir is pretty tasty stuff, right? We are going to jump around a bit here, but okay. The Eder Dam mystery. Again, a message out to group, cried Gibson to his radio operator. Racial slur, racial slur, racial slur. Racial slur was the code word for the breaching of the Moan Dam. Gibson's job was now done. Gathering the rest of the formation, he headed for the Eder Dam. But when he got there, they found that mist had developed and it made it difficult to get a clear run. All the beer burps again. The one consolation being no flak. Flight Lieutenant Dave Shannon attacked first, but after 5 unsuccessful runs, withdrew to get a fresh look at the target. Squadron leader Henry Maudsley, flying Lancaster AJZ Zebra, made the next run, but the bouncing bomb was released too late and it exploded on the crown of the dam, doing very little damage, but destroying the bomber in a blinding flash. Or did it? On his third run in, Gibson reported seeing something hanging below Z for Zebra, thought to be damaged. Gibson and others saw Maudsley's bouncing bomb drop too late and explode on impact with the dam parapet. And now the mystery. Gibson's crew were adamant that Z Zebra was beyond the explosion, not above it. And the mystery deepened. Gibson called up Maudsley, and on the second call, a faint voice was heard to say, "I think so. Stand by." Sergeant O'Brien thought that the very faint sound was unnatural and almost dehumanized, but it was definitely heard. The official verdict was that squadron leader Maudsley had been blown up by his own mine. But later evidence suggests the conclusion that Maudsley did in fact survive. And at this point, the mystery now becomes sinister. German records on this operation have not survived. British casualty records are not open to public inspection. It is therefore impossible to conclude that Maudsley did survive with any certainty. Oh, that's the end of that one. Just having a look to see what ones. Oh, we've literally just gone through the hour mark. I'm just seeing what's nice and short here. Yep, I think we'll have some more wasabi mix, quite frankly. What did I do on Friday night? I tuned in to watch Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra on a Friday, hoping for interesting stories about the paranormal, but instead I was treated to a confused man from Dudley wearing his very rainbow t-shirt, munching away on wasabi mix from Lidl. It doesn't get any worse than that, so The glowing control tower. Between 1986 and 1988, David Peel lived at RAF Helmswell in the post office on the Market Raisin Road. The post office served the army camp that occupied part of the old airfield. In February 1987, he was at a loose end one night and half seriously suggested to his brother and his best friend that they should go on a ghost hunt at the airfield opposite, the old Royal Air Force Hemswell. The three of them set out, and after exploring almost the entire airfield, when suddenly David Peel halted. I noticed what I thought was a greenish glow at the top window in the control tower, he said. After the "you are seeing things" and rubbishing me, it was agreed that there was some sort of green light inside the top room in the tower. Rather excitedly, we managed, possibly illegally, to get onto the roof, trying to hang off the railings in order to get a look into the window that was glowing, but sadly, we were not able to. Probably nothing at all in it, but I did lay awake for a long time that night, just wondering what, if anything, we had seen. It was a funny feeling, I can assure you. There had been many ghostly happenings at the old Hemswell airfield, as readers of my ghost stations are well aware. When Derek Harrison, the Missouri Wart story, page 34 in Ghost Stations, paused that October night in 1978 to answer a call of nature in the hedge bordering Hemswell airfield, the last thing in the world he expected to hear was music, voices, and the sound of a piston engine aeroplane starting its engines. The airfield was in total darkness and deserted. Or was it? When I asked David Peel for permission to publish his story, he replied, "You may certainly use the story if you wish, although it should be stressed that we never actually saw anything tangible or concrete. We only went on the ghost hunt for something to do on a dark night. We never expected to see or hear anything out of the ordinary, and although I cannot explain the glow that definitely came from inside the tower, I wouldn't immediately come to the conclusion that something spectral was afoot at Hemswell, simply on the basis of my experience, although your books would seem to indicate that something is going on at Hemswell Royal Air Force." Definitely deserves a I think this is going to be pretty much the last one for tonight. I'm trying to keep a log here of using bits of toilet tissue where we are in terms of stories. Yeah, I think that's it. What are we up to? An hour and 5 minutes. Yeah, this will be it for tonight, folks. So, Solange. Oh, we're definitely getting some more of the Saint Pierre and the liver bird one as well. So that's very nice. Right, last for tonight. The Phantom Footprints at Danesfield House. During the war years, phantom footprints suddenly appeared on the ceiling of the Great Hall at Danesfield House that had been taken over by the Royal Air Force. No one could explain the phantom footprints. At many Royal Air Force officers' messes, there could usually be found a footprint on the ceiling. and usually put there after a particularly, usually put there, sorry, at many Royal Air Force officers' messes, there could usually be found a footprint on the ceiling, usually put there after a particularly convivial evening. But the phantom footprints at Danesfield was not a practical joke. It was too sinister to be a joke. After the war, Royal Air Force Danesfield was occupied by Number 90 Signals Group, and when this unit, then Signals Command, closed in the mid-1970s, the house and buildings on the south side of the road were empty for a long time. Eventually, the barrack blocks, NAFI, domestic site, and sports field were taken over by the Ministry of Defence Police as a training centre and area headquarters. Danesfield House and its 65 acres proved very difficult to sell. Eventually, it was bought by Carnation Foods, who spent over £1 million refurbishing the house. But after Nestle took over Carnation Foods, the house and estate was put up for sale. It was eventually bought by a Swedish company who planned to convert Danesfield House into a luxury hotel. The work soon got underway, no expense being spared. Company Carpenter's workshop was brought on site to repair all the carved woodwork, and a large plasterworks was installed with skilled workmen to replace and repair the plaster ceilings. Gotta say, absolutely 110% on board with that. Bringing in skilled craftsmen, absolutely. Anyway, all was going well, or was it? Just before the work was completed, a workman saw the phantom footprints. He said it was a warning. A few weeks before the planned opening, a fire started in the roof timbers above the Minstrel's Gallery in the Great Hall, just above the ceiling area where the phantom footprints appeared. The fire destroyed the whole of the interior and part of the courtyard, but not the tower or the stables. The cause of the fire was unknown. It was suggested that it might have been started by a workman's blow lamp, for men were working on the lead on the roof. But those who saw the phantom footprints know otherwise. I'm sure it should be new otherwise, but I haven't finished yet, folks, but we are going to. Oh, strange. But those who saw the phantom footprints knew otherwise. But the owners were not discouraged, and work once again got underway to refurbish Danesfield House. Nothing could stop them this time, or could it? The ceiling in the Great Hall had perished in the fire, and with it the phantom footprints. Or had they? Once again, Danesfield House was brought back to its former glory, and once again the phantom footprints appeared on the new ceiling in the Great Hall. Why did they appear? No one knows, or if they do, they are not saying. Within a few weeks of the planned opening, the building again caught fire. Again, the sighting of the phantom footprints had heralded a fire. Once again, the owners set to work to rebuild Danesfield House, the building haunted by the phantom footprints. Danesfield House is, at the time of writing, again rebuilt, and everything is in order. Or is it? That depends on the phantom footprints. To date, they have not reappeared. That's it for tonight, folks. Oh, lovely. Oh, very, very tasty. And this is the Banh Mi Soap Slange. Equally tasty. So we'll pick up on the missing stories on Sunday when we do Sunday Night Ghost Stories on a Sunday as nature intended. That's it for tonight, folks. Goodness me, you've had an hour and 12 minutes of quality entertainment, he said modestly. Fingers crossed, we'll be back on Sunday for, brace yourselves, Sunday Night Ghost Stories on a Sunday. So until, the beer burps again, do apologise. So until then, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why? Why not? Oh, got the beer burps again. Why? Why not? Stay safe. Let's read that again. So yet again, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why? Why not? Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. Please don't have nightmares. Good night.